Yeah, so I accept that we need more radical change. I just don't have really any fucking hope that it could ever be implemented. And I shall tell you why. I'll tell your viewers and listeners why, Josh. Because the national debt is so high now. It was 100% of our GDP in like November last year, October. I don't know if it's been brought slightly under that or if it's still about 101%. So the only way you can get that down and then get people's taxes down and allow them a higher standard of living is to get growth. And the only feasible, realistic way of achieving growth at the moment is to rejoin the single market. And Keir Starmer has made it abundantly clear that he has no aspiration to rejoin the single market, and he doesn't think we will rejoin the EU in his lifetime. So in the absence of rejoining the single market, we're not going to get growth. We're not going to magic the national debt down, which means taxes aren't going to come down. The only other ways that you could get growth is to increase net migration substantially, bring loads of people in, work.
That's fake growth. That's not real growth.
Well, it would increase money.
It would increase GDP.
It would. So people would come in, they would earn money, it would be taxed, it would go in the coffers, right? So as long as it's a net benefit, which I think the stats have shown that high immigration does provide a net benefit, then you would start to see.
In terms of tax revenue, definitely. I mean, yeah. I question whether overall it's a good idea, because I feel like it's a supply and demand thing, in the same way that like the housing market has been screwed by like speculators buying up loads of housing and governments failing to build any. Wages are informed by how many people are like pursuing a job and what the minimum that they were willing to accept will be.
Right.
And I think by like massively increasing the workforce without investment to the point where you need the workforce to expand, that you're not going to see any real growth, especially for people who are like competing for the lowest like paid jobs. I feel like what it does is it floods the market with loads of people competing for like, and it's because the middle class has been shrinking and that like bottom has been growing, like increasingly so under the Tories. And I think immigration is a plaster that doesn't actually fix the problem. I think that you're right about that like rejoining the single market would improve GDP. Yeah. But I don't think it's the only way. I think you need government to build things. Like it's the thing that's been proven throughout history to improve the economy is to like take the like, yeah, okay, debt's at 100%, right? Well, fuck it, right? It's already at 100%, you know? Like, what's another 20%? No, really, right? Yeah. Okay, really, what's another 20% on that?
Borrow.
Right? Borrow, go for it. You know, we've fucking said we're going to do anything. We owe ourselves the money. I mean, you have to go real deep on like monetary theories. Like, who do we really owe the money to? And like, but
we're bond investors mostly. But yeah,
but like, take some of that money, and this is like, there's a group called Positive Money who like argue for this. Take that fucking like investing power, and instead of investing in assets at the top of the stock market, right, invest at the bottom of the economy, where the people need the money. Like, go and like, okay, go build stuff, like build some fucking new hospitals, build new hospitals, build bridges, I don't give a fuck what it is, schools, things we need, like train stations, like rail networks, like go say, okay, anyone that wants can get insulation on their house. Do you know how many fucking builders and contractors would be like swimming in money because people like want insulation in their house? And that was a promise that Boris made, the one that I was like, oh my god, he's actually going to do something good, and then they reneged on it.
So I have also been down this road, and it leads to a dark place, Josh. So I also agree that if you borrowed substantial amounts of money and then invested today in the infrastructure and like other services as well. Like I always bang on my channel about socializing childcare, because you have this huge like untapped workforce of fed up, tired parents stuck in their 2-bed houses or 2-bed flats who really want to go back to work and increase productivity and more NI and more tax coming into the coffers, but they can't. Whereas in other countries, they do have socialized childcare. It's seen as part of the infrastructure. So you could borrow to socialise childcare and then that money would come back. And all the stats about socialising childcare say you would get 12 billion back in the treasury if you did it. So that's a no-brainer. So if you did stuff like that also with other areas of the infrastructure, then I accept that at some point it would come back in GDP and growth. However, I also have no hope about that, because I think by the time it did come back, like if you went out borrowing now and you said, I want to borrow another 40 billion, 60 billion to invest in infrastructure, the investors would go, okay, well, we could buy a bond from the UK, or we could buy one from Germany, or we could buy one from Zimbabwe or US or where. So, like,
we don't need the bond. This is what I mean about you have to go deep on monetary theory. And like, obviously there's some debate about how real this is. We don't need the bondholders, right?
Right.
It's our money. This is one of the beauties of having the pound.
But
right?
it's not if you borrow the money, like you're borrowing it off bond
We're
investors.
borrowing it anyway. No, but like we're not borrowing it off bond investors.
So
right?
we're magicking it?
We are magicking it. They literally no. This is the point, and
Okay.
this blows my fucking mind, and I still struggle to really, really properly get my head around it. But I've
Right.
talked to enough people about it that I vaguely get it.
Okay.
They're going whenever the Bank of England wants to put more money into the bond market through quantitative easing. They literally go to their fucking computer and they just go ding 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 ding. Yeah,
Yeah.
5 billion. Yeah, they'll do. Done. Okay.
Right.
It's just like,
I know.
right. There's nothing back in it. There's
Yeah.
nothing. Right. So just here's what you do. You go to the same computer and you go.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 billion five new hospitals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
Okay. So that sounds really easy, right?
It is, right?
But-
And this is the bonkers thing about it. Like, all you need is a government that's willing to not be beholden to the way that the financial system has functioned for the last 100 years, the post-Bretton Woods system. Like, you just need to go, no.
Do you have any concerns that the last time the Bank of England went to a computer and then went dub, 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 bop, like that to create 26 billion, which is nowhere near what you would need to socialise childcare, to build infrastructure, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The last time they did that, the markets were so spooked, it resulted in the trust to fuck Quartang
Yeah,
thing.
but that's because it came from a bunch of idiots, right? A bunch,
Right.
yeah, like who had no idea what they were fucking talking about. They were like jacking themselves off on the most libertarian, stupid, like
it's
Friedman-esque
still-
budget that you've seen.
it's
They
still
didn't go to
magic
the
money,
computer
right?
and go, okay,
No.
we're going to build some hospitals. They went, tax cuts.
Yeah.
Like, that's totally different.
But is it? Because what they're saying is we're going to fund these tax cuts by the money that will end up coming back through VAT and people buying more holidays and cars and so on. If we cut their taxes, it will come back around. What you're saying is if you magic this money and build the infrastructure, then that will come back around.
It's not even come back around. It's like, right, okay, where's the when you buy, when say the government like pumps money in and buys bonds from some bondholders or like fucking investments in like pension funds, right, in order to flood money into the system, right?
Yeah.
Who gets that money? The bondholders or the pension funds, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Say you turn around and go, okay, we want to build a hospital.
Yeah.
Or we want to insulate people's houses. Okay. Who gets the money? The people doing the insulating of
Yeah.
the houses. It goes into like, this is what that group Positive Money argue for. It's like the money goes into the real economy. Do you know how much like that cycles through like 2-3 times in a year? Like there's just more money at the bottom instead of it being injected at the top, where you then get the trickle down that doesn't fucking arrive.
Yeah.
Because all we did through like the massive expansion of the money supply through COVID and stuff was just pay billionaires.
Yeah.
And
Rich
inflate
people
the
get
asset
richer.
prices. Like we saw the biggest upward transfer of wealth in human history over those couple of years. And I would just love to take a little bit of that money creation power and like pump it into things that we actually fucking need.
I mean, I'm here for the enthusiasm of it, Josh. I am. I would really worry if Rachel Reeves came out the door of number 11 tomorrow and said, we're going to magic like 50 billion and use it to invest in infrastructure. Although, like, I want them to invest in infrastructure, but my concern is, even though we have the aspiration to not be beholden to the markets and the global financial ecosystem,
fuck 'em.
I think investors would flee, the pound would tank, bonds would shake, and pensions would wobble, and then the Bank of England would be forced to then magic another load of magic. Like, it could become such a spiral of chaos. And I've lived through one like trust a fuck mortgage outgoing doubling situation.
Hey, listeners, real quick. Do you ever find yourself sitting watching the stock market like this? Well, now you could instead be ordering my book like this. It's the story of GameStop. You can purchase it with a hoodie, with acknowledgements, or just with the early backers edition. It's all about the GameStop story. It's the real story, not just what you've seen on films. It's exactly what has happened over the last 3.5 years. And with DFE back, I'm finally able to draw a conclusion to my book. Please pre-order it. It really helps me out. And you will get it eventually, I promise. Hopefully this year.